Welcome to Life Beyond BS, where we ditch the belief systems and the bullshit and get real about life. Here it's about awareness, choice, and creating joy that actually lasts. No perfection, just honest talk and powerful change. I'm your host, Heather McNally, and let's get into it. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Life Beyond BS. I'm Heather, your host, and I am thrilled today to be bringing you a fantastic guest and somebody that I have recently become friends with. So I'm thrilled to introduce you to my friend, Maria Garcia. Maria is a powerful example of resilience and self-discovery. After earning double majors in finance and international business, she initially made her mark in the corporate world, but her path took an unexpected turn when a massive stroke altered her life forever. Through sheer determination and a long, challenging recovery, Maria emerged stronger with a deeper sense of purpose. Maria channeled her transformative journey into her memoir, which is called Breaking into the Light, a journey of self-discovery and transformation, sharing her journey and the lessons learned along the way. Almost a decade after the book's release, she discovered a groundbreaking nutritional methodology which played a pivotal role in her continued recovery and personal transformation. Today, Maria is a passionate coach committed to helping others navigate their own journeys of recovery and transformation. She specializes in guiding individuals to reset their relationship with food, unlocking profound shifts in their overall life experience. Maria, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so
And
happy to be
and I want to, before we dive into everything, I want you to just tell our listeners a little bit about who you are, who you like to be, what you like to do, whatever it is you want to share with us.
Let's see. Well, I like to skydive. It's kind
Oh,
of new.
that
And
scares me.
but when you do it once, it'll change your life. It'll
Wow.
change your life. And I would say I'm a very curious person.
Hmm.
So I'm just curious about everything. And
I love
I
that.
do my best not to judge, so I can just take things in. And yeah, that's helped me.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. So we're going to start right where I mentioned that you lived through this massive life interruption. So, what did your stroke at 25 years old change about how you saw yourself and what did it reveal to you? You can tell me anything you want about the experience.
oh my God, it totally changed my life. I wanted to be invisible after it happened. Well, first of all, I wanted to be dead for a long time. I didn't understand why I lived. Because after all, I ended up paralyzed from the nose down, so I couldn't
Wow.
talk or move. So I thought, why am I alive? Whoa, like, why am I alive? And things, when they eventually progressed, then I just wanted to be invisible. I didn't want anybody to look at me. I didn't, my eyes were crossed for a while there too. So it
Wow.
was not a happy time in my life.
I can't even imagine. At 25 years old, you don't hear about a lot of people having the experience of having had a stroke so young. So you're just in the very beginning of becoming an adult, like so young. And what were you doing before? What was your life looking like at that point? What did you expect or feel you wanted your life to be before this happened to you?
I was in the corporate world, like I mentioned, like you mentioned in my bio,
Mm.
and things seemed to be progressing. I was going to become a stockbroker. I had just taken the exams. I worked hard, but I have to say that I partied equally hard as hard, right? And that was it. My life was partying a lot and working when I needed to do the work. And I was just living life, and I thought that I was gonna climb the corporate ladder and who knows what the limit there is
Hmm.
or would have.
Yeah, sometimes you can only limit yourself, right? If you want, you can make yourself and make your life limitless. Do you feel at that point that you had any specific big dreams, big goals, or you were just kind of going with what you thought was expected of somebody in your position at the time?
I did have a goal to become a stockbroker, and that started pretty early on when I began with the new company. Within, I think, 2 months, I was already getting ready for testing for,
Wow,
yeah.
incredible. So you woke up with the stroke occurring, was that correct?
And almost, I had been awake and we had had lunch
Okay.
with my mom and a couple of other people. And I was back in my apartment on the phone with somebody long distance. And all of a sudden, I started seeing things like the red ocean is underneath the kitchen floor. And after I said it, I was like, did I just say that?
Hmm.
I was confused that it came out of my mouth. I mean, it was like watching somebody else say it.
So you could hear yourself saying it, but you didn't feel like you were controlling what you were saying.
Yeah, yep, exactly. And then I said something else kind of crazy, something about underneath the bed. I don't know what it was. And somehow I managed to just get off the phone. I said, I have to go. Something's happening. I have to go. And as soon as I hung up, it was like, bam! I felt like somebody had knocked me over the head with a cast iron pan.
Wow.
And I fell on my bed into the fetal position with the worst vertigo, the worst headache.
Now, did you have people in the house with you that saw this happening that were able to help you, or how were you able to get help?
Yeah, luckily a friend of mine was in the other room and he noticed commotion, I guess. So he came in. He saw me on the bed. He called my mother, who was living in the other apartment. Same house, different apartment. She came down. They called for help. They thought I had food poisoning. And frankly, so did I. I thought it was food poisoning. So they made a call. Ambulance came. Ambulance left because I didn't think I was having a stroke.
Mm.
They asked me who is the president, what year we in, blah, blah. And apparently I was able to answer. But eventually I ended up at the hospital anyway because it wasn't getting any better. And I walk in, they do all these tests, and somebody finally comes over to me and says, Miss, we think you're having a stroke. And I was like, what? So much for food poisoning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then
that must have been a shock.
I didn't know what a stroke was. That was the second question, and I'm like, what is a stroke?
Yeah,
I'd
because
never
you're
heard.
25 years old. That's not part of your vocabulary yet.
No, I wasn't mine. I didn't know anybody English, my second language on top of it. So
Yeah. Wow. So you're in the hospital and you've been told you're having a stroke. And then you realize that you can't move. And so where did your mind go?
confusion,
Mm.
confusion, and but because I didn't have any reference for stroke, I never thought it was that serious. Like I didn't realize the severity of it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was temporary.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your process as you've already said, first of all, why am I even here? And then second of all, as you started to recover a little bit, you started to want to become invisible. So tell me a little bit about the mental part of that process of how you got through that as you started to improve to get to a point where you felt like you could start living again.
Yes. So I definitely spiraled into a massive depression, right? And the first time I started to see light, was when I was walking. This is already a couple of years later, and I joined the gym to see if I can, because I knew therapy was not the only thing I needed to be doing to make progress. And so I joined the gym and I joined the yoga class because I figured it's easily modifiable and at whatever pace I can do. But it became such a powerful mental exercise for me. It finally lifted the depression and I could start to see the light for all the clouds. Finally, there was like a ray of light.
Wow.
So I say that it was yoga that really got me out of the black hole I was in.
I mean, they definitely say yoga is really good for you. It's moving your body, but it's also using your mind and relaxation. And so, what did you find in yoga to be that thing that just called you and made you start to feel like there was a light?
I'm not sure exactly what it was. We were doing Iyengar yoga, which is the type of yoga where you do long, long poses.
Hmm.
Maybe it was the stillness, maybe it was the breathing. I'm not sure what it was, but it was just
All
so
of it.
powerful.
Yeah. There's a reason yoga is so powerful because it definitely pulls in all the pieces. And probably your nervous system needed that too. Being in
Yeah.
a pose and just kind of being there with your thoughts and your body and seeing what your body could do that it hadn't been able to do. So you've got a lot of strength in you. And I think that's so beautiful. What were some of the belief systems that you had to learn from just being in survival mode to starting to get out there and see that light and start to thrive and want to live?
Ooh. All my belief systems were pretty much shattered. Shattered.
Yeah.
Growing up, I was a perfectionist. And then I couldn't be a perfectionist because I was no longer perfect. So it was hard to be a perfectionist when your body is not cooperating,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's hard to be a perfectionist anyway, because in my opinion, there's no such thing as perfection. There can be moments and situations that are perfect for you as an individual. But I actually learned when I was very young that I had this belief, and I wasn't aware of what it fully meant at a young age. But my mom used to say, I want you to clean this room and I want it to be spotless. And I used to say to her, there's no such thing as spotless. And she got really annoyed with me the first time I said it. She thought I was being really flippant, and it was really more me saying, but the minute you walk away and turn back, there's more dust. So if you want it to be spotless, I'm just going to have to sit here and just wipe the same spot over and over and over again. But I realized that meant for me that I don't believe in perfection. And so I would imagine it's really hard to try to be a perfectionist when you can't get your body to do what it is you want it to do. So over time, as you started to gain more abilities and start your body started changing more over time, what were the things that helped you feel like, all right, I did this now, I'm going to do something else? What gave you the pushes to keep going?
So one of the very first things I did years after I got the stroke and when I was already able to walk, I went back to school.
Hmm.
And that was huge. I mean, it was mostly online, but there was a class in person. This was at NYU University in New York. And so that was good. That was my first coming out into the world, again. And so I did that. Then I began to work with a friend because I thought I need to get out of the house. I cannot stay at home.
Yeah. The normal feelings that everyone feels when they're living at home, right?
Oh no, but yeah, but it was more than that. It wasn't just about living at home.
Yeah.
It was like I just need to. I have cabin fever.
Hmm.
I need out.
Yeah. So how did that feel then when you got into, like all of us, the pandemic? Did you feel that cabin fever? during that time.
A little bit I did, but
Yeah.
not that bad because now my living situation is different
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
it was.
So healing to you meant something different at 25, 26, 27 than it does to most people that age. So what do you feel like healing meant to you then versus what it means to you now?
Back then, I really took it for granted. Health.
Mm,
I think everybody does, unless you suffer something that's very traumatic health-wise. It's hard to put a value on it. But having lived that experience, now it's like the number one thing in my life.
yeah,
Because I realize that if you don't have health, you really have nothing.
right.
You can have
And,
all the money in the world. What's it going to do if you're not healthy?
yep. And I think that you're right. A lot of people don't start thinking about that until they're a lot older and it suddenly hits them in the face. And I will be honest, that's one of the things that has happened with me in my life is I've had some moments that have kind of slapped me awake a little bit and I've tried to make some changes and then something else changes and something else happens and so you have to make adjustments. So you learned that very early on that health was so important and you had to make adjustments. So tell me a little bit about what started to change that for you. I know that you recovered for many years, but then you found something that profoundly changed your life and helped you. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so let me start with the beginning of my recovery because I did so many things. I did stem cell injections, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, Feldenkrais method. I went to Germany for that. I was throwing noodles. I was throwing noodles at the wall, hoping something would give me my normal life back. I just wanted quality of life. I mean, I was only 25, but I have to live another 50 years. I needed to get better.
Hmm.
And so it was years of doing everything and anything that I could. I even played with my diet, vegetarian, macrobiotic, pescatarian. I did all kinds of things. And then finally, by year number 10, post stroke, I had stopped recovering maybe at 8 years. And at year 10, I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I have to do something other than live for my health. I need to just be. I
Hmm.
can't just live to try to get better.
Right.
And so that's what I did. And then it wasn't until 15 years post stroke that I enrolled in a nutrition course just out of curiosity because
Mm.
I'd already been playing with my diet. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to learn something new about something I already like. Never in a million years did I think anything could or would happen. But then I enrolled in the course. Within 6 months, I recovered another 20%, and I got my life back 15 years after a stroke. I was like,
Yeah,
wow!
mind blown. First of all, we all want purpose in our life, but we don't want our purpose to be just constantly, I'm trying to get healthier because I had a stroke. Like you want to live your life, like you said, and just be. So, okay, 10 years came and you said, I'm done with living this way. I'm going to change. And then you found this course. So that's just mind blowing that in 6 months you became 20% better, more recovered. That's incredible. So tell me some of the things that you were able to do that you hadn't been able to do or you were able to do differently after those 6 months.
So, one of the major things for me was I was able to hike, which I
Mm,
could have never done prior to the course. My balance was bad, my energy was worse, and now all of a sudden, here I am going on 3 hour hikes. I'm not getting winded. My balance is not the greatest, but it's a lot better than it was. And I could do it with
Mm.
help, but I could do it.
That's amazing.
So one of the other things was also my voice. That was the biggest source of misery for me because I sounded like
Mhm.
barely audible, very breathy.
Mhm.
And one day I recorded a video after I'd done the nutrition course, and I heard my voice, and I'm like, "Oh, is that me?" I didn't even think it was me because it was
Mm.
all of a sudden there was bass to it, and I was like, "Wow!" And I think that's because my left side was affected. Most people have either side. Both of my sides are affected, but more so my left. And I think this is my theory, which may or may not be true, but I think my left vocal cord must have been semi paralyzed, and now it came back.
Wow. And this was all through nutrition, all through food. Wow. That's amazing. So when this was happening, did you do anything different besides the nutrition, or was it just
No,
that?
it was just that I wasn't doing any more therapy. I was tired
Mm.
of doing therapy.
Yeah. 10 years you did therapies, and 6 months, nutrition started to change your life. So tell me a little bit about food. What foods done for you and how your relationship with food changed? Because where you said that you've tried all things, that you're a pescatarian, that you're a vegetarian, and whatnot. Do you feel you had a healthy relationship with food before, or do you feel like it was unhealthy before? How would you say you were before versus now?
I would say it was pretty healthy. I wasn't indulging in overeating or any of that.
Mm,
However, I was following the food pyramid as we're told to do, and that was not the right way. Like now,
yeah,
today, I know that the food pyramid is something like upside down.
yeah, a bit outdated compared to the scientific information that we have
Very different.
nowadays. Yeah,
And I was a vegetarian because I wanted it. I thought it could help me get a little better, right?
yeah,
I thought it was healthier.
yeah.
And through this course, I learned you can do it if you want to. It is not healthier. If you do it, it's very important to supplement very carefully. Some people choose to do that for ethical reasons,
Mhm.
but it's way not healthier at all. It's, in fact, less healthy.
I know that a lot of people think of food as just discipline. Like, I have to do this because. What do you think food is really about?
Food is about nourishment.
Mm,
We treat it as entertainment, but
yes.
food is about nourishment
Yeah.
and giving your body what it needs.
Yeah.
A car runs on gasoline. What happens when you put water in a car in a gas tank? What happens when you give your body the wrong fuel?
Yeah.
It breaks.
And I will say I have had moments in my life where when I tried something different because it was different from what I was doing, I could feel different things in my body. And I'm not going to say this is the only country that does it, but we definitely treat food, like you said, as entertainment. What do we surround our fun times with? Going out to eat, going to the movies and eating junk. What do we treat ourselves with? Food. So you're 100% right. When you decide you want to treat yourself with something, and I don't know what your diet consists of, and when I say diet, I mean what you consume.
Way
I
of
don't
life.
mean a diet like a fad, because I think that's something that people need to, we really need to change in this society is when someone says, "What is your diet?" That means what do you consume? What do you like to eat? What do you take into your body? It shouldn't mean your restriction.
What the
You,
word actually is.
yes. Yeah. So when you decide you want to treat yourself with something, what do you treat yourself with?
First of all, I want to go back to the conversation we just had because the fact that we treat food as entertainment, it's not our fault. It's
Mhm.
by design.
Right.
Every holiday is associated with the food. Valentine's Day, chocolate. Easter, chocolate. I don't remember the three kings bringing Jesus chocolate.
Yeah.
It doesn't say it in the Bible, but
That's not what
and
we can survive on.
right, and it's by design, so it really is not our fault.
Yeah.
But once we have that awareness, that knowledge, then we can maybe look to see if something different might not be more optimal,
Yeah.
right? And that's the beauty of what I guide clients through is that we get deeply into your food psychology, why you like certain things, why you don't like certain things. And with that awareness, then you can step forward and actually make meaningful change. So it's not like I give you a list and you will do it. No, it's we dive deeply into psychology.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
for me, a treat, I just want to say that for me, a treat
Yeah.
is a nice steak. For me, that's a treat.
Yeah. Something delicious. It's going to give you nutrition, but it's delicious and that's going to give you that treat. Absolutely. And I will say, when I notice that when I stop having any kind of sugar and I try to have less processed foods, I find my vegetables to be the treats. I find some potato, like even sweet potato, to be a treat. So I need to start reframing my thoughts on that because when I used to drink soda all the time, I know that I was just so addicted to the sugar and my body was not happy with it. When I stopped drinking it and then I would have one, it was so sweet that it was too much. So your body adjusts. I think that people have a fear of letting go of the treats, the what you're having all the time. But so tell me, from your perspective, when you stop having those sweets and the sugars and all the junk all the time and you start eating healthy, do you ever crave those things anymore? And if you do crave them and you have them, does it make you feel terrible when you have it?
So your taste buds actually change.
Mm,
They physically change. It's like you're outside, it's very sunny, you walk in the house, and all of a sudden it seems like it's pitch black,
mhm.
even though it's not. But your eyes have to adjust. And that's like your taste buds. When you're having all the sugar and all the things that are non foods, your taste buds need to adjust to taste real food because they're so muted by all that garbage.
Mm.
So it's kind of like that. So the cravings do become less.
So if somebody
And
says
then,
to you, like, okay, I know that, I know what I should be doing, I just can't seem to get there. I just don't do it. What's usually under that?
mm, your childhood.
Yeah, yeah. And those limiting beliefs that were given at such a young age when our brain isn't ready to fully understand what we're choosing because our brain's just
Yeah,
trying to keep us surviving.
and even things like imagine you're a kid and you're with your parents and a couple of your siblings and you're at an amusement park and you're all like going nuts and your parents are like, oh God, what can we do with these kids? And they tell the kids, we're gonna get ice cream. But when we get the ice cream, we have to sit. We have to sit and eat it
Mm-hmm.
just because they want a few quiet moments. Well, then there's people that in adulthood they get an ice cream, but they have to go sit when they eat it because that's and it's all patterns and things like that. And even
Yeah.
like what we were talking about before we start recording, we when kids cry, we tell them, "Oh, it's okay. I'll get you an ice cream or I'll whatever." It's like a soothing. Then now they equate mom's love with ice cream or whatever it is that you soothe them with.
Yeah. 100%. And I will say, One of my sons, Christmas one year, years ago, asked for a Christmas gift, asked for some food. And I said, well, what do you mean by food? And it was, well, chips and, different cookies and things like that. And I said, oh, you mean junk? And he was like, no, I mean food. And I was like, you can eat it. That doesn't mean it's food. It's junk food. And he just was so vehemently against me saying that. But it's exactly what it was. And so I did get him some of that. And after he opened it, he said, woohoo, now I have a box of food. And I said, now you have a box of crap. And he was excited. But, at the same time, it was definitely not a box of food. And so, yeah, you definitely think like, oh, if I'm going to treat somebody in our society, it's all about food. It's all
Yeah,
about
and maybe,
junk food and going out to eat and drinking. And there may be moments of indulgence that aren't bad for you, but that can't be
and,
the,
and,
the norm.
and maybe to him, it was a box of love. It wasn't a box of crap. It was a box of love because maybe he remembered that from. So, and I'm not putting
Yeah,
blame on anyone, but we don't know better until we know better, right?
right, right. 100%. So tell us some things that people could know better. Just a few kind of quick tips on things that people could know better to do a little better.
Okay, so one of the big things would be don't punish your kids or reward your kids with food. Don't use food as a soothing mechanism for anything. Don't use food for anything. Food is just for nourishing. It's not bribery, it's not, it is only food.
That's a
Because
good
that's where
point.
all the patterns begin.
Yeah, that speaks deeply to psychology. Absolutely. So that's great. Any other tips for maybe some adults that are thinking, oh, well, this won't hurt me. And then they say, oh, well, this won't hurt me again and again and again. And it becomes a pattern.
Yeah, so doing the same experiment over and over again and expecting different results. Well, I think that's insanity, right?
Yes.
Was it Albert Einstein that said
Yes.
that?
The definition. Yep.
So, like for me, if I eat something that's like uber sweet, I mean, I remember once I was at a niece's birthday party and I thought, why not? I'll try the cake. I'll try the cake, right? No big deal. So I get the cake and I take one piece, put it in my mouth, and I was like, well, because it wasn't homemade or anything, it was totally artificial, like chemically. And I was
Mm,
like, this is disgusting. And
mm,
I didn't like it. And I
yeah.
put it back. And that's what I mean, your taste buds will change.
Yeah. So for somebody who needs to rebuild trust with their body because they have not been nourishing it, but they've been using food the way our society kind of teaches us is as a treat and as, oh, we'll go out to dinner to celebrate. Oh, we'll go out to dinner because it's easier, things like that. What would you say when they've been spending all these years ignoring it? How can they start to rebuild some trust with their own body and food?
So, first things first, nourish your body well so that it finally begins to shrink. Because we all think, oh, my body is failing me. My body's failing me. But we don't realize that we're failing our bodies. We're failing our bodies. And one of the things you could do, one of the most nourishing food on the planet is actually red meat. I know we've all been told it causes heart attacks, it causes it's all not true. Red meat is the most nourishing food on the planet. So maybe give yourself some more red meat. There's a caveat there. I would say when you eat the meat, watch what you're pairing it with because that's often what gives us problems is what
Okay.
we're pairing with. Because in order to digest meat, the stomach needs to be very acidic. And in order to digest other things, the stomach needs to be less acidic. So when you combine certain foods, it makes your digestion really difficult. And so if you're gonna have the red meat, I would recommend having it with something light.
Okay, that's great to know. That's excellent. Something that you said was, okay, so I am a vegetarian, I am a pescatarian, whatever it is that somebody identifies as, and they want to change. What's one small shift that you can suggest that might help create that identity change?
Ooh, that's difficult. I think just commitment.
Hmm. One of the things that you said that I teach a lot of in my coaching and my program is awareness
And
is
awareness.
key, 100% key. And if you want to make those changes, the identity shift, the change in your diet, anything, you have to become aware of the situation. So aware of the identity that you've given yourself, be aware of the identity that society and our belief systems have given us. Awareness that we're not happy with where we are at and want to make a change. You can't change unless you know. But once you know, it's hard to ignore, and that's where choice comes in. So
Yes.
for you, what made you choose to look into this program?
To be honest, what I said in the very beginning, curiosity.
Hmm.
I'm just curious, and I figured I'm going to learn something new.
Yeah,
And I already like the subject, so
excellent. But it changed your life. So then you
it did.
decided to go ahead and get certified. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting because when I decided to do the coaching program, I had zero intention of coaching anybody. I was just so blown away and shocked by what happened to me. I thought it was sorcery, and I
Mm,
needed to understand. I wanted to understand. I didn't even think about coaching others. And number one, I was also elated, but I was also very frustrated because I thought,
mm,
oh my God, did I have to suffer 15 years? But if I had known this back then, I could have saved myself all my 20s,
yeah.
my 30s. So anyway, I signed up to become a coach. And then during the coaching certification, we had to have a pilot class. And during the pilot class, my clients, they had equal miracles. I mean, my
Mm,
story is different than anybody else's, but everybody has their own story.
right.
And they were having their own miracles. CPAP machines, no more. High blood pressure pills, no more. Gout medication, no more. Fatty
Wow.
liver, gone. Operations averted, and all these crazy things. And I thought, I need to bring this to people. So basically, my mission came to me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And talk about changing people's lives. To see that these things could happen. They could come off medications, off of the machines, not have to have surgery that had to have changed their lives and therefore their identities as well. So, do you see that happen?
Yeah, profoundly. And I see that it's got rippling effects, right? Because when somebody does something like this, then other people watch them, their family watches them, and they're like, I want some of that, right? So it's like a ripple effect into families and communities. And
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah,
So, how about your family? How are they affected by seeing your changes because of this nutrition plan that you got involved in? And then that became your mission.
so I'm happy to report that my brother did the program with me.
Mm.
And so he's living this lifestyle. Also,
Wow.
my mom, she's over 75, and she was having some old age symptoms. And I put it in air quotes because we believe that getting older means slowing down, certain illnesses,
Mm.
becoming a little more decrepit, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that at all. It's actually abnormal aging. But we've been conditioned and brainwashed to think that that's just the way it is. But it's so not that way. And
Mm.
so my mom has also adopted a lifestyle like mine. And she got better from so many things.
Wow. That's amazing. And I will say, I took a brain science course, and there were certain things that were pillars for a healthy brain. And definitely one of them was your nutrition. It was the omega-3s that you take in and what you actually put into your body. And if you can have a healthy brain, if you treat your brain the way it needs to be treated with the pillars of a healthy brain, it takes care of your body. And one of the things that he said was, that old age does not equal what you're saying, like becoming decrepit, having dementia. That's not a normal aging process. So it's
Not at all.
wild to see that the one thing that we are told all the time is food, and it's food is love, and food is entertainment, and food is all this, is actually one of the biggest problems for us that we have built a bad relationship with and bad expectations of what food is.
It is the biggest problem because if you don't fuel your body or you don't understand what fuels your body, how can you understand how your body works?
Yeah. And I know something you've talked about is letting food become an act of self-respect instead of self-control. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I tell myself, so that's a treat, but is it a treat to treat myself poorly?
Hmm.
And that kind of shifts my thinking about things.
Yeah. And that's something that when I talk to people about loving yourself and how you speak to yourself, it's feeding your brain. If you say to yourself, "You're a loser, I hate you," would you say that to anybody else? So it's the
No,
same thing with food, right?
yeah, exactly. We are our own worst enemies when
Mm.
it comes to mentality and food, right?
Yeah. I've kind of had a roller coaster of emotions with food. And we've had a good and bad relationship. And growing up the way I did in an abusive environment at home as a child, I had certain things that became very strong belief systems. And definitely hating myself was one of them. And food was the one thing I felt I could control. So, because I was being controlled, I was like, oh, I can control what I eat. Well, unfortunately, that meant very bad habits that still haunt me to this day sometimes, but I've also changed a lot. And one of the biggest things for me is not allowing myself to emotionally eat. Because when I emotionally eat, I don't care, but I shut everything down and I eat it because it makes me feel good. And then I'm done and I feel terrible and it makes me tired. It makes me feel bad physically. It makes me feel bad mentally. And that's where I go and I say, okay, you have to stop the beating yourself up. You've made this decision. Now we're going to stop. And what we're going to say is, instead of, I ruined my entire day, week, month, I made a bad decision and now I'm going to pick up and the next one is going to be better.
Yeah, and that's
So,
excellent because
yeah,
you've touched on the very thing that's going to give you the biggest shift, which is awareness.
yeah,
When you have that awareness, yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm shutting my emotions and soothing myself with food, but you're aware of that. I think most people eat emotionally, but they don't realize they're
yeah,
even doing that.
yeah. I definitely didn't realize for a long time. I know that in the industry, from what I've heard in the past, our diet and exercise are important. And that a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, I can eat whatever I want and I'm just going to work it off, work it off. And then over time, I start hearing that no, really, X percent, much bigger percent is your food intake compared to the exercise. So tell me, do you know what that percent is of food versus exercise and how do they work together?
Okay. So this number is going to blow you away. And
Okay.
I'm being sort of conservative.
Okay.
I would say 85% or more is the kitchen. The
Wow.
rest of it, exercise is the cherry on top.
Wow.
When your body is well nourished, you want to exercise. That just becomes a natural part of your life because you have energy, you can do it. You want to go, you have too much energy, in fact.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it really is all about food. So when people say on New Year's, oh, I want to get healthy for the new year. Yeah, so change your diet because everybody signs up for the gym and then they think, I'm going to outwork my bad diet. You cannot. You
No.
cannot outwork a bad diet
Yeah.
ever.
And that's funny. You bring up the New Year's resolutions because, of course, when we're recording this, it's January 5th. So we are brand new in 2026. And for a long time, I used to believe in the resolutions and the New Year, New Me. And what society has found is that people fail their resolutions within the first month most of the time because I think we put too much expectation on, oh, I'm going to fix everything. It's going to be a new year. Everything else gets wiped clean and we're just going forward. But that's not what happens. It's not being human. So I think being human is making a choice at a time. And every moment gets to be new me because you get to make that choice every day. And where I said I used to have that mentality of, oh, well, I screwed up and I ate all that. So now this whole week's blown. I'll start again next week. But
Right.
every moment is that opportunity to choose. Tell us one thing that somebody could choose today that could just start helping them.
The two most simplest things I will say is start drinking more water.
Hmm.
And you might want to do some deep breathing exercises.
Yeah. 100%. Another thing that we tend to do in this society is we tend to get very shallow in our breath and only breathe a little bit into our lungs and our chest, but we don't breathe all the way into our diaphragm. And that makes a huge difference. Because if you sit
So
down and really do some deep breathing, you find yourself getting dizzy because we don't have enough oxygen in us. And I love that you said that for if you have the right nutrition, and I hate saying the word diet only because people have such bad connotations with diet, but I want to really try to normalize the word the way it should be used, as in what you consume. If you have that healthy diet, that nourishing diet, you do want to do more things because you feel better, you have more energy. And so you want to go for a walk, you want to explore, you want to play basketball or volleyball or whatever it is that you want to do. Go for a bike ride, go for a walk, go for a hike. And that actually brings another pillar of a healthy brain is nature, being outside. And so it all feeds into it's a very cyclical thing. Your diet, your water intake, your energy levels, it all starts to change once you start feeding one thing, it feeds another thing. And that is so beautiful. Have you found that for yourself?
yes, which makes to me it makes medicine super strange because there's a specialist for everything. But I have one body, it's all connected. Right?
Yes.
And so they want you to go to the specialist for their eyes, somebody else for your bladder, somebody else. And it's like, no, it's one body. They
Yeah.
work in conjunction.
I will say that I have noticed that when you go to different specialists, sometimes they're not all speaking to each other. Someone who is a cardiologist and a kidney doctor and a pulmonologist, they're not all speaking to each other. But if they did, maybe they'd find that one thing and that they can all agree this is what's helping or hurting. And if we could make this change, and I love that you're saying it can all start with your diet.
And they can finish with their diet. They love medicine If I get hit by a car, please
Yeah,
take me to the emergency room. Right. They'll patch me up. But for anything chronic, that's not the answer. That's
yeah,
not where you're going to find the answer.
yeah. So you're giving hope to the people who have chronic diseases and illnesses. And I just think that's a beautiful thing because it just comes naturally. And like you said, medicine has its place, 100%. But so does your nutrition and taking care of your body. Beautiful message. What's one belief you want listeners to release this week and replace it with another belief?
You can take charge of your own health. You can stop outsourcing it to others.
Hmm.
The white lab coat person is not God.
Love it. Love it. And tell me a random Tuesday or whatever day of the week it is. What would be a go-to meal for you that excites you, it doesn't take forever to cook, and really makes you feel fulfilled?
So one of the things I love doing is using my slow cooker.
Mm.
I put something in it at night. Usually it's a big piece of meat with some seasonings, onions or whatever. And then when I get up in the morning, it's ready. And I'm like, yay, I don't have to cook.
Ready to go. The slow cooker is a beautiful invention. And when
So,
my kids were younger, my oldest played football. And so we were out at football practice all the time for hours. And so earlier in the day, I would put my crock pot on and get a meal ready. And you get home and you've got a nice hot meal. I didn't have to sit there cooking for hours because sometimes that's frustrating, right? Cooking for an hour and then everyone's done eating in 10 minutes and now you get to clean up. So I love the slow cooker. I think it's fantastic.
so do I.
So tell me, how can people get in touch with you and what you like to, just a little bit about what you do to help people? What's your process in your work?
The best way to get in touch with me is through my website, which is genuinelymaria.com. I have social media, but I also have a bit of an allergy to social media, so I'm not there as often as one somebody else might be. So through my website, you can book a complimentary call. What was the second part of your question?
Just a little bit about what your work
Oh,
looks
the
like.
process. And then the process. My flagship program is 3 months long. You can do it privately or you can do it in a group, either or. And we do this lovely transformative process. We ramp things up very slowly. We take 1 week at a time, and it resets your relationship with food. It's not just about the physical changes, it actually changes the way you think about food.
Yeah. And that's where it all starts. Because if you think that food is a treat and it should be junk food, the box of crap like my son would get. If that's your thinking, you're not going to change your behavior. You have to
And that's
change your
all
thinking. So what you do is a beautiful thing. I love it.
and that's all good when you're younger,
Yeah.
but then when you're older, all of a sudden things start creeping up.
Mhm.
And it's because, for example, something like diabetes. Well, you didn't just wake up with diabetes at 40. You've
Yeah.
been building diabetes for over 10 years.
Yep. Everything's a process and it's all based on awareness and choices. So
Exactly.
thank you. My last question for you would be, what does living a life beyond BS, which can be belief systems or, yep, the bullshit that society puts upon us, what does living a life beyond BS mean to you, having gone through everything that you've gone through and now really owning your life?
I think one of the major things for me was dropping the masks and stopping to live others' expectations of me without even knowing it, because oftentimes we're doing that unknowingly. and just being more authentically me.
Yeah.
Stripping
Authentically
out all,
you. And I love your website is genuinely Maria, correct? Which I'm going to have all the information in the show notes on how people can get in touch with you. And I love what you're doing. I think it's a beautiful thing. You can help change the world. So I want to thank you for your time here today, Maria. I appreciate all of your time, all of your input, your wisdom, and sharing your story with us. And I want to
thank you.
say thank you so much for sharing this space with me today, everybody. My hope is that you walk away knowing that you have the power to choose differently. Go live fully, freely, and unapologetically. Your life beyond BS starts now. I'm so grateful you were here today. Remember, your peace, joy, and happiness aren't found in the BS. They're found in your choices. If this episode spoke to you, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe, and share it with a friend. For ways to connect or work with me, check the show notes or visit heathermcnally.com. Until next time, keep choosing you and keep living your life beyond BS.